Another person I'd like to bring up, since we did the blue side of the housing projects, guy that I know you're real familiar with, Manpower from the Nickerson Gardens, which you allude to, we all know as the bunny hunters. You got any stories or anything?
Well, I have several stories about Manpower. Matter of fact, I talked to him not too long ago. He's out and about. It was a crazy story. Me and his mother grew up together, and his father, Frank McGowan, was one of my best friends, and that was Manpower's name is Edwin McGowan. But anyway, one of the real stories that come up to me about Manpower was Manpower was connected in terms of bounty hunters, and all that, but he also hustled a little bit, selling a little dope. I was working Compton PD at the time, and his sister, because I knew the whole family. They were Frank's sisters, and Manpower was Frank's son, and all that. But his sister, Bobby, lived in Compton, her and her husband. And apparently, they had kind of kept some of the money. I'm just trying to be diplomatic about what I'm talking about, because it's old news, But the money, some of the money from the sales of cocaine was kept at Bobby's house. And the locals around there, the little dudes that hung around there, and it's kind of escaped me now. It was a little small group, but they called themselves, they weren't Santana Block, they were Blood, but I can't recall the little group that lived over in that area. It was right off of Sloan in the Elm Lanes. That little group of dudes, they were breaking into houses over near their home. And I guess, I don't know, I don't recall, I shouldn't say I don't know, but they probably knew that was a dope house in a sense, and not necessarily because they didn't sell no dope out of the house. They just kept the money there.
Gotcha.
But they broke into the house, about 3 of them. They broke into the house and got to searching, I guess, for dope or whatever.
Right.
But they hit the jackpot. Under the mattress inside the house was all the money, cash money, that was kept there. And I mean, it was quite a bit of money. And the brothers took the money. They probably took whatever else in the house, TVs or whatever. Mm-hmm. But they took the money, a large amount of money. And what the guys started doing with the money, the cash money, they were going out buying cars, little lowrider cars, like, from other guys that had them. They were like buying cars left and right. So it took Edwin, Manpower, it took him a little while, not very long, to find out who were the guys that burglarized the house, took the money, and was out here buying these cars. Mm-hmm. I don't want to put this guy's name out right now because he's still pretty close with him. Okay. But I'll just say a connected person from the Bloods. Mm-hmm. He had heard about it and knew who the players were. So Manpower had contacted my guy, and he kind of told him who the players were. And what they were doing, they were going around, Manpower and his little henchmen, they were going around Compton, more or less kidnapping the guys that had broke into the house and taking the cars from them. Mm-hmm. So we started getting radio calls of carjacks, and stuff from at least 2 victims. And come to find out, 2 of the victims were 2 of the guys that had broken the house and had bought the car. Mm-hmm. And they got jacked and pistol whooped and all kind of stuff. Yeah. A third one also was kidnapped, and he was taken to Nickerson Garden by Manpower and them. They took him over there to find out where was the rest of the money. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, myself and my partner at the time was Bobby Baker, who was a narcotic guy. He really wasn't a gang guy. We were just happened to be riding around together that day. And so we started investigating it. And so we started getting the information of what happened, what the motive was for why they were jacking these cars and beating these guys up, that they were the suspects who had broken into Bobby's house. Well, anyway, me and Bobby was riding around because we were still getting calls of people getting kidnapped, because there was about 4 or 5 guys involved. Okay. And they had gotten 2 of them that they dealt with early. But this third one, the call came out and said, a carjack, I think it was in Front Hood somewhere, and that the victim was taken from the vehicle at gunpoint and put into another vehicle. And I kind of put 2 and 2 together and knew it was manpower involved. Well, later on that evening, as we circling around and found out that this guy was kidnapped, I'm still, but basically, we checking all the areas for any more victims, or hoping we can catch the guys.
Was this all the same night?
Yeah, this is all same evening.
Okay.
I mean, it started about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Excuse me, lasted in the evening of one thing leading to another. You know, it was several incidents. Yeah. But later that evening, about 6 o'clock or 6:30, we were over in the area of Compton and Santa Fe, just kind of checking around, and we see this long Cadillac go by. And Bobby looked into the Cadillac. He was driving, I was passing, and he said, "Hey, Reg, isn't that my man?" You know, I know who, but I'm not going to put his name out like that. But ain't that isn't that him in that car? And I said, "Yeah," and that looked like Renee. Not Renee. Renee is Manpower's brother. That's for another day. Okay. But anyway, I said, "Dog, that's Manpower." I said, and now that's our suspect. We're not sure, just hearing it. Right. So we pulled the car over, and there's 4 dudes in the car. I mean, one who was driving, that brother was every bit of 6'4", 6'5", 220, 30 pounds, fresh out of the pen, you know, buffed, and heck, he was the driver. Manpower was the front passenger. My man was in the back seat, because I guess he was pointing out the locations to these suspects. Yeah. He's in the back seat, and there's another dude in the back seat. Okay. Also, I don't know who. But when we pulled the car over, you know, I'm knowing everybody. They knowing me. As soon as me and Bobby pulled them over, we got them all out the car. You know, naturally pat them down, make sure everything was safe. Got all 4 of them out the car, put them on the car. You big guy wanted to act a fool. You know, he was about to get stupid. And then that's when Manpower told him, "Hey, that's my uncle. That's my uncle. You know, be cool, be cool, be cool," you know. So I got him on the car. So I went up to Manpower and I had him. I said, "Man, what the hell y'all doing?" I said, "Now I know what's going on. I know about what was taken out of Bobby's house. And I know these cats done bought these cars. I know what's going on. Yeah. But what I'm concerned about, man, is one missing. And apparently you or your cohorts or somebody know where this guy is. And I don't want him to come up dead. Yeah. It's on you to make certain I find out something where this cat is or what." He said, "I'm going to give you that right now." I said, "But right now we ain't finished investigating it. So if I find out you deep into something, I'm going to have to come get you." He said, "Oh, I know, but it's cool, you know." So I let him go. We checked him out. I let him go because I was hoping he'll do just what he did. Apparently they got back to the project somewhere in Nickerson Gardens, and they released the dude. Matter of fact, I think they took him by near Martin Luther King Hospital was there then, and dropped him off at Martin Luther King Hospital, you know, all beat up and whatever, and they split. And so, you know, from there, I got a hold of the guy, and he told me how they had kidnapped him and because of the car, and he validated the story I heard. We later on got a warrant for him.
For those of you that have been around Bomb First for a while, y'all done heard the person involved in the story. And it wasn't Mob James. No. So y'all don't start those rumors. But for those long-time listeners and people that knows the story, Reggie don't know that I spoke on it, but I've told the story before in my own way for a reasoning for another shooting that happened in L.A., in Compton, and that caused Rock Chisholm to end up going to prison because of a shooting they done when the gun jam. Is all the hints and all we're going to talk about on this story remaining.